If you've been around the weight loss world for any amount of time, you've probably heard people talk about the carnivore diet and how it's changed their life. They've lost weight, their cravings have stopped, and they don't snack like they used to. And for some people, the results are impressive. And right from the beginning, I want to be clear, the carnivore diet does help people lose weight. I guess the argument I'm looking at today is there something magical about the word carnivore? Or is there a mechanism underneath this diet that is actually responsible for these results? You see, those are two very different things. And that's what we're going to look at today. I want to look and see, does the carnivore diet have some sort of magic that it affects the metabolism different than any other type of diet? Or does it just make it harder to snack on foods that are easy to overeat? So that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at what the carnivore diet is, what the mechanisms are underneath it, and if it's the right diet for you. So before criticizing the carnivore diet, let's give the carnivore diet its due, because the people that use the carnivore diet and are faithful to it do lose weight. It is weight loss. And we don't want to sit here and deny that, because that wouldn't be fair to the carnivore diet, nor would it give us any credibility. We want to make sure that we're being fair on both sides. But I think the other side of the argument is that a lot of people just swear by it so much that they think there's something special about only eating meat and protein that causes the body to burn fat in a different way. And it almost villainizes plants. And I think that's where it kind of gets a little bit off the rails. You see, I think the true meaning when we look at it is a little bit somewhere in the middle, where the carnivore diet makes it easy to eat foods that are hard to overeat. And it helps with caloric reduction in a way that doesn't constantly make people feel like they have to implement their own personal willpower, to see if those benefits can be gained somewhere else as well. So let's look at some of these mechanisms and how they actually come into play with the carnivore diet. The first thing is it really reduces your menu. When you're on a carnivore diet, you eat meats and eggs and some dairy, and your menu goes way down. So it really reduces a lot of your food choices, which, like I said earlier, that helps with willpower. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't have to make decisions on what you're going to eat, it makes it a whole lot easier to stick to it and then not have to worry about what your dietary choices are. If you're not on the carnivore diet, for breakfast, a lot of things go out the window. You can't have cereal, you can't have pastries, and you can't have toast and stuff like this. And lunch and dinner, food's so much more abundant than that even. You're talking about fast food, tacos, and all kinds of other snacks. So one of the things that the carnivore diet does that helps people lose weight is it reduces their food choices to such a small percentage that it makes it so much easier for them to reduce their caloric intake in a way where, again, they don't have to implement their own personal willpower. The second thing that the carnivore diet does is, because it promotes protein and meat as the primary food choice, all the meals are revolved around meat sources. So think about a big dinner or a big lunch. It's really not easy to overeat a steak. You eat steak and then you might have a couple other side dishes, but you're not usually overeating that. You eat that until you're full. And so satiety is huge when it comes to the carnivore diet. It gets you to a point where you get full quicker, and that helps a lot when you are reducing your calories and not overeating on foods that are easy to overeat. And right along with that, the third thing that it does is it increases your protein. So when you increase your protein on a carnivore diet, you're doing a number of things. One, protein is something that a lot of people don't eat that much of, or probably not as much as they should be anyway, particularly as you get older. And so protein helps with your muscle maintenance. And that's particularly important when you're trying to lose weight and reducing your calories at the same time. The other thing that eating protein does is it helps you feel full. Again, we just talked about that. And the third thing it does is that it helps with appetite retention. And eating protein also reduces the desire to overeat. So this is a big deal, because if your hunger drops and you're able to protect your muscles at the same time, this makes it a lot easier to achieve and sustain weight loss. Put simply, more protein equals more fullness, which equals less overeating. At this point, I just want to give a quick introduction. My name is Greg. I am the founder here of Vital Over 50, and we are here to try to help people lose weight and reduce their chronic health conditions before they get into retirement or shortly after, so that they can have a retirement that they can enjoy and that they don't have to spend all of their hard-earned money at doctor's offices and any other medical bills. If you could give us a like, share, and subscribe, you would certainly help us out in a long way and sharing this message to so many other people that would need to hear it as well. And we would really appreciate it. Thanks. Another thing that the carnivore diet does really well is it reduces a lot of the trigger foods that people overeat that cause them to gain weight. Things like chips and pretzels and any other types of fast food or processed foods. These are the foods that are totally off limits, and when you don't have those available, that's very helpful in losing weight. And the second part of that is you don't really think about the last time that you sat down and overate chicken breast or overate vegetables. So these are the types of foods that you can eat but that you don't overeat, and that's important as well. So that's one of the things that the carnivore diet also does well that helps in this process. And the final mechanism that I can identify that helps with the carnivore diet is that it's simple. I mean, it's brutally simple. You can eat these foods, meats and proteins and eggs, and you can eat other foods, pretty much everything else. So it's pretty easy to stick to a diet when it's that simple for some people. And like I said in the beginning, some people who lose weight do have impressive results because of it. They're able to stick to this brutally simple diet, but it's also a brutally restrictive diet. So this is where we kind of make the pivot and we ask the question, can you get more protein without going on a carnivore diet? And the answer is yes. And can you reduce snacking without eliminating plants and vegetables? And the answer is yes. And can you make your diet a little bit more simple without going strictly to the point of steaks and eggs only? And the answer is yes. And so that's where you kind of look and say, that's where the breakdown is, where the carnivore diet works, but it can also be the same mechanism that helps the carnivore diet can help other diets, but they're not as restrictive. So that's where the question comes up. Can you find a diet that has the same type of effect as the carnivore diet, but allows you to be a little bit more effective socially and practically long-term in the implementation of it, so that you're not constantly stuck in a situation where you can only eat certain foods, which makes it harder for you to socialize, implement in your real life long-term. And a couple other points I want to make right now about the carnivore diet that I think are worth considering as well. It kind of has this all or nothing mindset where if you can't achieve it, then you failed, where it's like if you can't just continue to meet the daily regimens of the protein requirements and you can't continue to restrict the other diets, then you failed. And that's a kind of hard thing to deal with, because some people who find success with it, other people are going to look at that and go, oh man, I'm just totally wore out. This is too much for me to handle. So the all or nothing part kind of lets people in a quandary after they might have done it for a month or 2 months, and now all of a sudden they have a rebound because they just go right back to their old habits because they can't find success in doing it over and over and over again. Because once you get off of it, you just go right back to your bad habits. And when you understand that restriction and when you understand that all or nothing mindset, you also understand that what the carnivore diet does for a lot of people is it solves the problem, but it doesn't help problem solve the skill. So what I mean by that is, if the problem is you're overweight and you want to lose weight, then the carnivore diet will help you do that. But if the skill is, how do I lose weight and keep it off for the long term? If you can't continually maintain this restrictive diet, you don't have that skill and that balance on how can I eat other foods that, yes, they may not be good for you all the time, but you should probably allow yourself a little bit of that pleasure, because it's going to be hard to go to every single wedding and birthday party from here on out and not eat cake. And it's going to be hard to go out to eat with friends and not allow yourself to cheat once in a while. And if you don't have that skill, then that's kind of the problem when you consider how restrictive it is and how it has that all or nothing mindset. You want to be able to have the skills on how you can balance your life. And that's one of the things that's really hard with the carnivore diet. So the smartest lesson or the smartest takeaway from this video is probably to understand that it's easier to lose weight when you can control hunger by avoiding overeating foods that are trigger foods that can help you, that would actually promote the caloric intake. So you want to kind of realize that that's the mechanism behind the carnivore diet. It makes it harder to overeat the bad foods and it gives you this fullness. And the question is there a way to do that without so much restriction and so much harshness in the diet form? And that's probably the takeaway that you want to look at and say, can I find a diet that will do this for me in a way that doesn't villainize plants and vegetables? Because quite honestly, there are, very important nutrients and vitamins and minerals that you need to get from your plants and vegetables as you get older, and you don't want to restrict those. So you don't want to kind of assume that the carnivore diet has some sort of magic in the protein alone. The reality is the carnivore diet's main benefit is that it helps you eat foods that are nutrient dense, that fill you up. So what you want to do is be able to find other nutrient dense foods that aren't just proteins, that can also help you in a weight loss management program. And those can be like whole wheats and whole grains grain, pastas and breads, and fruits and vegetables are definitely nutrient dense as well. So those play a vital role, and you don't usually see a lot of people overeating their vegetables either, you know? So definitely consider all of this when looking at the diet that's right for you, and understand that the carnivore diet does work, but it takes a lot of restrictions. And if you're the right person, that might work for you. But if you're not, understand that this same mechanisms work in other diets as well. You just got to find out how to be able to balance it with a broader range of food items.